They led me into the arena. They had condemned me to the most horrific, the most public, and the most brutal death imaginable, all for a single, unyielding declaration of truth I could never, ever recant. Emperor Domitian, the tyrant, demanded that every soul proclaim, Caesar is Lord. It was the ultimate betrayal of our faith. I, John, the apostle of Christ, was dragged before the screaming crowds, accused of treason, simply because I insisted that Jesus is Lord. Their punishment: to be boiled alive in a massive cauldron of oil, a spectacle of death designed to be a deterrent, meant to strike terror into the heart of any follower of the way. Can you truly imagine the stench of death, the heat of the boiling oil, and the rage of the pagan crowd? Would your resolve hold firm when the very fire of mortality is waiting to consume you? They plunged me into the searing, bubbling fire. By all human standards, that moment should have been my end, the conclusion of my ministry, the silent close of the prophetic voice. But what happened in that Roman amphitheater, where the brutality of Rome reached its zenith, transcended all human logic, and revealed an undeniable, supernatural power? The cauldron, which was intended to be my tomb, had no power over me. The oil boiled furiously, yet it could not harm me. I was submerged, and I emerged unharmed. My persecutors, astonished and utterly terrified by this inexplicable miracle, were forced to admit that something divine and great, was protecting me. Unable to kill me, they could not extinguish the life protected by Christ. They decided on perpetual exile. They cast me out to Patmos, a desolate, rocky, and utterly isolated island, a wilderness of stone where the Roman Empire sent its enemies to slowly wither away in desolation and despair. But listen closely, for this is the key to everything that follows. It was precisely in the utter loneliness and the profound suffering of Patmos, the place meant for my death, that I found the very presence of God. Patmos, the place of my exile, became the stage for a glorious, heavenly revelation. This is what I was commanded to write, the revelation of Jesus Christ, which God gave him to show his servants what must soon take place. Blessed is the one who reads aloud the words of this prophecy, and blessed are those who hear, and who keep what is written in it, for the time is near. This is not a book of destruction alone. It is the unveiling of the final, absolute victory and the return of Jesus Christ. Even in the heart of Patmos's desolation, when every earthly comfort had vanished from my mind, the glorious event began to unfold. It was the Lord's Day, the day of resurrection, and as I knelt in deep, fervent prayer, I was in the Spirit. My soul was uplifted and carried away from the barren rocks of my prison. And then the sound began, a sound that shattered the stillness of the heavens. I heard a loud voice, mighty and resonant, like the blast of a trumpet, a commanding sound, not of mortal man, but the very voice of eternity. The voice boomed out from behind me, proclaiming his infinite authority. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the first and the last. Can you comprehend the sheer, terrifying majesty of hearing the voice that all creation obeys? Would your sanity remain intact when confronted by the speaker of such infinite power? I turned quickly to see who was speaking to me, and when my eyes beheld him, I collapsed. I saw one like a son of man standing in the midst of 7 golden lampstands. His robe reached down to his feet, and he wore a golden sasha on his chest. Imagine the splendor. His hair was white as wool, white as snow, a symbol of eternal wisdom and infinite age. His eyes were like a flame of fire piercing, judging, seeing through every pretense, every secret intention of the human heart. His voice was not the gentle teaching voice of my master, but like the roar of many rushing waters, the sound of immeasurable power. In his right hand, he held 7 stars, the angels of the 7 churches, and out of his mouth proceeded a sharp, two-edged sword, the word of final, uncompromising judgment. Standing before that absolute holiness, what could I do? I fell at his feet as though dead, completely overwhelmed and undone. But immediately, he placed his right hand upon me, offering the ultimate solace, the ultimate assurance against all fear. Do not be afraid. I am the living one. I was dead, and behold, I am alive forevermore, and I hold the keys of death and Hades. Then he entrusted me with the sacred task, the mission of writing the revelation. Write what you have seen, what is now, and what will take place later. My first sacred duty was to convey 7 intensely personal letters, messages of deep rebuke and glorious encouragement directly from Christ, to his struggling congregations, to the church in Smyrna, enduring tremendous persecution and poverty. He gave the steadfast promise, do not fear what you are about to suffer. Be faithful unto death, and I will give you the crown of life. And with the church in Laodicea, wealthy but spiritually lukewarm, he issued the coldest warning against their indifference. Asterisk, I know your works, that you are neither cold nor hot. I will spit you out of my mouth. Ask yourself this question. If the glorified Christ stood in the midst of your own community, would he find your faithfulness to be hot? Or would he warn you against the chilling complacency of the world? Every letter was a final, fervent call to repentance and a glorious promise for those who overcome. Remember always, he who has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the churches.